Hey now, Ed, how's it? It's the Bergie and Booker show. He's Bergie, I'm Booker. We got a lot to cover. First of all, Bergie, you suck. The Big Ten sucks. And I say that in jest.
I know.
But let's be honest. You dubbed yourself Big Ten Bergie, and it didn't happen to work out your way. As Brian Windhorst would say, things didn't fall your direction. So
I was all in.
you did. I love you.
I was all in, and
the table.
One of these times it's going to have to work out for me. One of these times the Big Ten is not going to shit the bed in the NCAA tournament. The men's tournament.
Yeah, exactly. They did do well in the women's.
Yeah, but
for all of our viewers who love the women's tournament, good on you.
Oh yeah,
go Iowa.
Yeah,
not a big fan. What's the girl Clark? When she hit the game-winning basket and she goes over to her crowd and gives the big this. I don't know. I'm not into the me show.
I didn't.
Well, when she won the Naismith Award, which she clearly deserved. I'm not saying she's not a great player, but they went through some of her season highlights, and somehow, some way, they show her in 1.7 seconds left. They inbound it to her. She dribbles, boom, hits the three-pointer to win the game. Great shot. And then she runs around the stadium on the outside, gets to her fan section, and gives this one, which I'm more of a celebrate your teammates, act like you've been there before, and, that whole thing. Which brings me to my first piece of advice for parents who are watching their kids play, because I get to see my son play a lot. You get to see your kids play a lot. We always tell our kids to act like you've been there before. I want parents to act like they've been there before. And when something great happens, handle it like it's a sporting event. And when something bad happens, handle it like it's just a sporting event. I mean, it's a bunch of kids running around chasing a ball that's not round, if it's football, a ball that is round, they're trying to shoot into a basket. I have my own theory on basketball. It's an amazing sport. But just so you know, if you take a perfect shot in basketball, it's going to swish, right?
Yep.
Not wrong there. If you take it a little bit less than perfect, it's going to hit off the edge of the rim and rattle out. But if you take it even worse than perfect, it's going to hit the rim and drop in, or it's going to bank and go in. So it's the rub of the green for us golfing people. So yes, there's my soliloquy on how to be a great sports parent and how to also absorb the fact that basketball is not a perfect sport.
So real quick on the parents act like you've been there before. Too many of them haven't.
I know, but that doesn't mean they can't act like it. I mean, by golly, it's just
too many of them have had no success in any degree at any level. Yeah. And again, it goes back to why do you think if you didn't play college, or you didn't play high school, or your wife didn't, or your husband didn't, why do you think just because you're willing to pay $17,000 over 5 years for private trainers, and why do you, it still doesn't make it worth it. But anyway, all right. So I don't know. Did you see, I sent you that stuff, Mike Gundy. Did you see what he's talking about?
I love it. I think it makes perfect sense. And it sounds like he's gaining some traction on the concept of make it a 1 year deal, a 2 year deal, so the kid knows what he's signing for. The bad news is I think a lot of kids are going to sign for 1 year deals.
So here's the deal. Instead of signing a scholarship and saying I'm coming somewhere for 4 years, you can sign a deal for a year, a deal for 2 years, a deal for 3 years, a deal for 4 years. For the coaches, it means they are now professional football coaches and GMs, because they're going to see who's coming up for contract. They're going to know who's locked in for contract. It's going to help with the NIL deals. These guys that are offering NIL money are going to say, if you sign for a year, you get this. If you sign for 3 years, you get this. It's going to be, in his idea, an actual contract. Okay. What does that do when you want to leave early? Are you going to have to pay some NIL money back? That can all be worked out. There's plenty of lawyers in the world that are willing to work all that out.
You think?
What I really like about it is he did mention an important part of it. And that's if you sign a 4-year deal, you say, I want to go to Michigan, I want to go to Penn State.
Yep.
I'm going to sign a 4-year deal. And after the second year, the coach can let you out of it if you ask. In other words, if you come up to him and say, hey, coach, I obviously can't play at this level. I'd like you to help me get to Villanova. I'd like you to help me get to somewhere else. Will you let me out of the deal? The coach can say yes. Now, to protect the player has to ask to come out. The coach can't just say, we signed you to a 4-year deal and you're not worth it. Because that's the dirty secret the SEC is doing now. They sign these kids to cut to these, scholarships. And then if you're not going to contribute after 2 or 3 years, they tell you you're done. Okay. And they're allowed to, and most schools don't do it, but the SEC does do it. Not all schools, but SEC schools do it. So
are they wrong?
No, I mean,
okay.
But I'm saying, but if you walk into a parent and a household of a kid and you say, I'm going to look after your kid for 4 or 5 years, and then after 2 years, you tell me you don't want him anymore. He's done nothing wrong other than not perform on the field. Still has great grades, is a good kid, not getting in trouble off the school. Then you lose a little something with the high school coaches, especially in football, who are really, really the guys that feed you kids. So that protects that aspect of the old-fashioned scholarship. The saying I want to do it for a year, because now you can transfer anywhere you want one time. But his point, and I didn't realize this, he has a great point. You're allowed to transfer. In the old days, you had to transfer and sit out. Now you can transfer one time anywhere you want. Okay. But if you ask to transfer and you ask for a hardship and the NCAA says no, all you have to do is file a lawsuit against the NCAA, because there's 14,000 lawsuits waiting on the NCAA sitting in somebody's pile to look at. They're never going to get to it. So you're going to get a waiver to go do whatever you want. So he has no protection. So they have no protection right now from kids transferring, which means they have no protection from Booker Corrigan coaching at one school, Joe Bergstrom coaching at another school. You like Bergie's kid, and you tell him, hey, listen, I'll pay you to come to my school next year, which is happening. We know it's happening. Yeah. Well, now the coach of Bergie can say to Booker's school, and Bergie's player can say to Booker, I'm under contract here for 3 years. So you don't even make the call anymore. Because you're able to, and make it public knowledge.
Yeah, you can see it.
Everybody knows how many years each guy has. Make it completely public. It's a business. It always has been. Now it's an actual well-run business.
Are you describing the NFL?
Basically, other than you're going to have more opportunities.
You got to go to class.
A lot more teams, right? There's more than 32 teams. And you're going to have, I also think this will help. I think it'll actually help the smaller schools as well. I think it'll help the smaller schools.
And there's nothing wrong with that. No, I just want kids to be happy, productive parts of society. It's really what we're trying to do. We always say the value of sports. So few high school athletes go on to play in any level of college. Let's make sure they're happy. Let's make sure they're learning life lessons and qualities that are going to help them be productive in what comes next. Even if they go to the NFL, they might be, the next best. They might be Lamar Jackson. How do you handle it? Can you handle it well?
Well, if you're Lamar Jackson, you don't have a team right now that wants you. So hopefully they're not all Lamar Jackson.
I know,
but that's a different subject. He's painted himself into that corner, and it hopefully it comes out well for him. I think he's a good player. I think he's just getting no advice. Stay in Baltimore. He's getting no advice on that place.
They just offered him a guaranteed $30+ million a year for 3 years. And if anyone else in the NFL wants to match that, I guarantee you the Ravens will say add $3 million.
You know what I don't like? I don't like teams being bullied into saying why they aren't looking for him. Like the Atlanta Falcons came out and had to put a statement out why they're not interested. Other teams have had to come out and say why they're not interested. Why do we have to say who we're interested with and who we're not interested with? We like our quarterback. Or the Atlanta Falcons owner came out and said he's missed 6 games 2 years ago and 5 games last year. And
I saw it.
All that stuff. We don't want him right now. I don't understand why
they have to say that. Do you think? Because I saw that article and it gave 18 NFL teams and what their owner or GM or even head coach, what their thought was on why they're not pursuing Lamar Jackson.
Because
Did they come out? I feel like a reporter went to all those guys and said, hey, listen, just give me a statement. I don't feel like they didn't say, give me a statement right now. You tell me why.
that's the plus of being Bill Belichick and the New England Patriots. We never tell you a goddamn thing, so why would we tell you this? Right? We don't tell you anything. Really. So they probably even asked the Patriots if they were interested in him. And that's my point. Sometimes just shut up. Why make a statement? Are you interested in him? Because now you're putting your coach, your player, your quarterback, and now, it's just
let a sleeping dog lay.
I mean, what is there? 6, 8 really, really good quarterbacks in the NFL that, year in and year out are playing at a high level and don't get injured and that type of stuff. And maybe that's a high number. Maybe it's 4. But I'm saying
I think it's like 6 or 8. I think 8, maybe even.
Right. Yeah. So I mean, he's not coming off a great 2 years. He's not coming off playoff wins. He's coming off injuries. I've joked about it. He got COVID 7 or 8 times. So, getting COVID that many times as a professional athlete, now you got to question your thought process. Is my guy smart enough as a quarterback? I mean,
we also we didn't see the COVID test, and it's very easy to play the COVID card. So, he's got COVID, he can't come on the trip. Right. So, all right, let's move on to NCAA men's basketball tournament.
Yep.
Obviously, the brackets, everybody's bracket sucks.
How did we not mention the fact that the Miami coach was the George Mason coach that you talked about? George Mason, the one little team that got in the last 20 years. So he's back. He's back. 20.
He's only 114 years old. He's got a couple more good years in him.
He looks good for his age, and I was really rooting for him until he made the dumbest statement in the world and did the Bohan did a couple years ago and said we should have 96 teams in the tournament. What in the hell is he? Jesus Christ! I mean, does he want
everybody gets a trophy?
I mean, what are we doing? 60. They already have 68, and yes, it's great. And you got in last year pretty far, but we're going to see how many people are interested in watching a Final Four with nobody's in it.
That's going to suck. That's going to suck. It's, and I feel badly, and please let them be 1-point games. If the first game on Saturday is a blowout, it's going to be, everybody's just going to turn their TV off and go do Saturday night and pretend basketball's over.
So I've got a very important question for you.
Okay.
And I'm going to, Major League Baseball started yesterday.
Yep.
I don't think the Phillies are going to go 0-162. I think they'll win. They didn't win yesterday. If you looked at the scores of the games yesterday, a lot of high numbers, a lot of runs. Mm-hmm. Maybe the pitchers aren't used to the pitch timer yet, and it's getting there. Games are being sped up, which is nice. A lot of high runs. But here's my question. What will have more viewers for the weekend? The NCAA tournament games, that's 3 games. Every Major League Baseball game opening day, yesterday and today, added up, or WrestleMania, Saturday and Sunday night.
I'm not going to touch WrestleMania because I know you're a big wrestling guy.
Our kids like it. I mean, I have a great friend who was in it. I mean, it's entertainment for the kids, but I'm dead serious. Yep. I want to know, because I think WrestleMania viewership. I'm not saying I'm proud to know it's this weekend, but I think WrestleMania will have more viewers than Major League Baseball opening day, and also opening days combined, and the Final Four games.
That's a bold It's a bold strategy, Cotton. Let's see how it pays off for him. I will tell you, I think the Final Four is going to have the fewest viewers, and it's too bad because it's always been one of those. But
it's a good game. When it's a good game on Monday night, it's tough to finish if you got a job or your kids have school or anything like that. It's like the football national championship game. You know, by the time it gets started, it's 9-10 on a Monday night or something silly like that.
Yep.
And if it's a good game and good teams you really, really want to watch, you're still talking about after 11 o'clock at night. And
Oh,
you're
God.
talking about, I mean, if FAU gets in against, you know, what, I mean, yeah, South Florida will watch, but and that guy said he's staying. He's getting a contract extension, a big contract extension. He's staying. And I would love for that to be true and it not just be a ploy for another school to give him more money, because I would love the idea of a coach having success. He's in Boca, Florida. I mean, where else does he want to go? I mean,
I know where he wants to go.
Where?
He wants to go to Del Boca Vista. He wants to go to Del Boca. You think you can keep us out of Del Boca Vista? He thinks he's Morty Seinfeld.
So I hope he does go. I hope he goes there. I hope I hope he stays there, doesn't go anywhere. And we'll see, because if he can get them there, I mean, then you can get the recruits, but we'll see if it can last. I don't know. I guarantee FAU's got some big money.
Oh, yeah. All those schools do.
That could pay NIL for 2 to 3 kids a year.
That's interesting. If FAU plays UConn, who's the better team?
They'll either play Miami or UConn.
Yeah.
If they win.
That's going to be the world's least watched NCAA championship game
Well,
since.
if UConn gets in, it'll be watched just where UConn, the proximity of UConn,
Yeah.
Northeast, that'll get watched from, you know, hardcore basketball people are going to watch the thing no matter what. Okay. The problem is I don't know how many hardcore college basketball players, college basketball fans there are anymore. It's just like anything else. There's so much out there. Everything's so diluted.
Yeah.
I mean, I didn't miss a college basketball game when I was in high school. I watched every one of them. I loved games. I don't know how many kids watch them anymore. You know, I don't. The NBA.
Yeah, they're all playing Fortnite.
Well, the ratings, but anyway, the TV ratings will be very, very interesting to see how the Final Four does, because if it hurts it the way I think it's going to hurt it, somebody's going to come up and tell these coaches and say we need more teams. And be like, no, we actually need less teams. We need 32 teams that people care about, because you know the advertisers did not get their dollars worth on their 30-second spots, because
and all those spots are sold.
We promised them X number of viewers and X share, and we got nowhere near it. And they're going to say Peacock had WrestleMania, and bang, got this. I'm dead serious.
I know. It's funny because it's true.
Well, and then the baseball thing is just strictly baseball is a regional sport now. All right. You watch your team. No one watches baseball games just to watch baseball games anymore. If I say no one, I mean the masses. It's like I say no one watches hockey. No one watches hockey. Obviously, people.
I'm a hockey guy.
Right. But, you know, the idea of Sunday night baseball for anybody other than the Phillies fans and the Ranger fans watching this Sunday or whatever, at 4:00 game or whatever it is, it's really not going to happen. Now, you get diehard baseball players because it's early in the season that want to watch, but nobody watches. If you want to, baseball's about going to the game, about eating the hot dog, paying for beer, hanging out.
Just went.
Yeah.
I went to the Phillies final spring training game. I will tell you this, football seems to be the one sport, and maybe NASCAR has a zillion viewers, soccer might fall into this, but NFL football, people will watch it. If the Detroit Lions are playing the Minnesota Vikings on Sunday night or Monday night or even Sunday afternoon, and you click it on, you're going to stick with it for a little while. So if you turn on the Kansas City Royals against the San Francisco Giants, you're flipping.
No, well, NFL is America's sport. Okay, it's the number one show on 5 different networks every year, all year. If you look up the most watched sporting events every single year through the top 100, football is a majority of them. Okay, it's just and not even the playoff game. It's just regular season games, everything. You're absolutely right. People will watch Monday Night Football no matter who's playing. People will watch Sunday Night Football no matter who's playing. People will watch their team on a regular basis. But there's a reason you go into every sports bar on Sunday that has any side to it at all. And the TVs are all over, and they're all marked what games are going to be there.
Yep.
And it is the number one. It's the number one show. It's the number one sport. A lot of it has to do with people growing up with it, but also, you can bet on it. It's
It's a good product.
fantasy.
Even nowadays, you can bet on anything. I wish I bet on the overs yesterday on baseball.
Yes, the only downfall to Florida is you cannot sports bet in Florida, like all the other states with apps and everything like that. So you
Really? Yeah. I don't bet on sports, but I did look at the over-unders yesterday just as a joke. Like I was kind of looking at like when the Phillies play and all this, and every game was across the top of the screen of the link that I clicked on. And so I looked at all the over-unders, and I just said to myself, probably if I was a betting man, I would have bet on just every game, take the over. One of them, the over-under was like 15.
Well, yeah. I mean, some of the games, it was, one guy had a field goal, the other guy didn't. It was 10-7. It was like,
Orioles were like 10-9.
I think the Phillies ended up being 11-6, 11-7.
11-7.
But you know what I love?
So the other thing I noticed was I was looking at the over-unders, and the Yankees game, the over-under was like 5. And I think the final score was 5-0. So it was kind of nuts that the people who set these numbers, the over-under for the Phillies game, I think was 9. Over-under for the Orioles game, I think was 14 or 15. They were playing the Red Sox, and whoever sets these things knows what they're doing. It's not you or me throwing darts at a board.
No, yeah,
great.
There's a reason the buildings are really big and shiny in Las Vegas.
In Vegas. Vegas knows what Vegas knows.
Yeah, but they definitely know the lines. One of the nice things for me with baseball is I do like that it's on streaming on ESPN Plus, because I was able to log on yesterday at 4:00 and I'm able to pick whether I want the Rangers broadcast or the Phillies broadcast. So again, I will not watch much baseball throughout the summer. I'll watch a little bit here or there. If there's a Sunday game, maybe I'll watch it. And, I'll watch it in the fall, especially if they get in the playoffs, you watch all those games. But baseball's so many games. But it is nice, not even April yet, to sit down, turn on the TV, be in Florida, TV's on outside, kids are swimming in the pool, and John Kruk is on my freaking screen. Absolutely love the Krucker. Absolutely love him. And it's great to have him on there. And it's great that you don't have to listen to, and I don't know what the Texas guys are like, but you're listening to Kruk. You feel like, baseball has started. That's the only team I'm going to.
I get a question for you as we wind down. I got a question for you.
Yep.
How does John Kruk button his top button? What sort of apparatus is used?
He didn't look
looks
bad
like his head's.
Well, yeah, he's kind of that Tommy boy, like fat guy.
Yes. And actually, I was just going to say, Chris Farley is the other guy where you could not really figure out how that happened. It's got to be elastic, the whole neck things. And then how does he breathe?
So let me ask you, you've done a lot of sporting events, and you broadcast a lot of sporting events. And I have a friend, a really good friend who did all the Titans games for a while, and a buddy who does the Patriots games, and he's their local radio guy and goes to all the games.
Right.
You're talking about 8 home games and 8 away games and then a playoff game. What is it like for the guy who works for the Phillies, who broadcasts all of their games and is on the road for the 81 games of the year? I mean, they're part of the team, right? I mean, basically you travel with them. You live in the same hotels with the team. You don't have the restrictions, if there are restrictions, when to come in and when to go.
Right.
You go to the ballpark and be prepared. But I mean, you got to be, basically you're still playing, right? I mean.
Yeah, the travel can be an endurance race. The other thing is as far as preparations go, once you've done a team 2, 3, 4 times, you're done. You have it all. You just update whatever stat is that now he's batting 257, not 250.
Right.
So it's very easy to keep up with the team that you cover, and then everything else is on a sheet of paper right in front of you, and you can see that's so and so Jose Altuve's out, or whatever the scenario is. You can easily keep up with the other team. Plus, that's the life you signed up for. So it's kind of cool to go. I'm doing the ACC Women's Lacrosse Tournament at the end of the month in Charlotte, or the end of next month, since it's still March. But April 26th through the 30th, and we are broadcasting every quarterfinal, semifinal, and championship game. It's going to be insane fun, but it's a lot of prep because I don't do all those teams. I've done Duke, I've done Notre Dame, I've done Clemson, I've done UNC. So those teams, I'll have a little foundation of knowledge, but for the other part, I'm going to be, working my tail off trying to learn pronunciation, stats, high school coaches, and just getting all those little details that add to the broadcast.
So here's a tip for you if you don't already know this. Most schools, when you go to the roster now, that has that little ear thing next to their name.
Yeah.
You click on that, and it's the kid saying his or her name and how they want it pronounced. I think that's extremely cool. I think it's extremely cool. And your job is harder than those guys because Kruk's doing the Phillies every night. I mean, so he knows everything about the Phillies. He only has to prepare for the opponent. And let's face it, he should know the NL East opponents other than who's new this year to the team, in his sleep. So I don't know how much girls lacrosse you watch on television that you're not broadcasting.
I do. Yeah.
So we watch a lot because Darlene loves it. And she gets very infuriated with how bad the broadcasters are for some of them. Some of them are very good. Some of them, it's just that school's version. And, they don't have to have kids' names.
Yeah.
And, like, we've got a really good friend.
Some of them are very bad.
Yes. Taylor Suplee at High Point, who was at Penn State. Mitch, her dad's a good friend of mine. We watch all her games. She had a great game the other night for High Point. And it was a High Point announcer, but other times they're playing, they call her Suppley, and they don't call her by her right name, and it drives our daughter nuts. And then they try to explain the rules, and I always joke with her, and I said, how many people are watching this that don't know the rules at 3:00 on a Saturday or on a Sunday? I mean, you don't have to explain the rules all the time.
So it's funny, and I'll ask you this question. How many times have you been watching a college or pro football game, and they say to you during the broadcast, in college, you only have to keep 1 foot in on a reception to make it a completed catch. In a pro broadcast, they got to have 2 feet in to make it a catch. So it's the way you do the rules. If you just sit there and say, like, well, the rule is that if you make it a dull explanation, it's going to take away from the broadcast. But if it's a seamless explanation of a rule and it makes sense in the flow of the conversation, people don't even know you're really doing it.
No, and I think what she's talking about is every time there's a yellow card, they got to all of a sudden put the card and have rule book this and explain it. Or every time there's that. We did watch one game though. I think it was. I know it was UNC, and I think it was UNC versus Northwestern, maybe.
Okay.
They stopped the game for 10 minutes. It was pouring rain, and they called UNC out. They were wearing metal spikes, and metal spikes are illegal.
Oh, yeah, I heard about that. Yeah.
And they made all the girls change, and they got a green card, and I think
the other team had them.
The other team had them too, and they had to take a couple players. They both played down. So that was a good explanation because everybody's like, what the hell are they doing? Right. But having to explain the rules all the time. Anyway,
well, that's one of the things about doing lacrosse is you want to try to give a little rule explanation in the flow of the game and not stop your broadcast to say, well, the rule is when the ball goes out of bounds after a shot, the closest person to the place where it goes out, when it goes out. But if you could just say, Bergstrom's closest to where it went out, when it went out, they're going to retain possession. All of a sudden, it's not, hey, dummy, I'm explaining the rule. It's, hey, that's why they have the ball, and here we go. There's a good way. There's an easy way to do it.
Yeah. There's not enough announcers. What is that you got?
That's my TP shirt. My great friend, Chris Gaylord, his dad passed away, and I was class of 84. I PG'd there. Chris Gaylord's the glue that holds our class together. So he's a little sad. So we're flashing some TP for him because he's one of the great people in the world.
Sorry to hear that.
And he kept his COVID beard, which now he could be an extra on Duck Dynasty.
There you go.
So,
I know some guys that have kept their COVID stuff.
yeah.
One of the things I did, COVID related, I continue to not hang out with people. And I never was a hugger, so I continue to not hug people for no reason. And you know,
I can't wait to see you again. I'm going to give you a big hug.
So you know, the one nice thing about COVID was, for a long time, I got to hang out with my best friend and 5 of the people I really, really love and care about, nobody else. And I didn't have a problem with that.
Not too shabby.
Yeah.
It's a good thing. COVID has its positives.
Yeah.
Brother, he's Bergie. I'm Booker. We do what we do. I'm drinking Propel, by the way.
Oh, it's Friday.
Too early in the day. It's too early in the day. I got to go shop for charcuterie.
Shop for charcuterie. Good luck with that.
I'll probably bump into you.
Yeah. Don't hug me.
You got one coming, bro.